Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's Eric Coffin. I'm here at the May 2023 Metal Investor Forum on Sunday, May 27th. I'm here with Leo Hathaway. Leo and I go back a long way. We're friends. He started up a company last year called Golden Shield. And when he first started it up, when they were sort of doing, I guess, the IPO financing, for lack of a better word, I went through it with him. And my immediate idea was, yeah, sure, I'll write a check. I mean, I know Leo, I like Leo. I know how talented he is, but I just couldn't quite get my head around what the expansion potential was at Marudi Mountain, which is the project in Guyana that he's working on. He generated some great drill results, but really for me, it was the work they did during and after the last couple of drill programs that's really kind of tied things together and connected the dots for me, not just to show, yes, they did definitely expand the existing zone, that they hit a bunch of very good intercepts outside the pit constrained resource from the past. But to me, it was the targeting that they've done that show, in my mind, a cohesive model that has a lot of scale potential. Like, there's a lot of room to make this thing bigger and to find new zones. And I kind of wanted to maybe walk us through that, Leo. I mean, what did you guys do, and how did it change the perception of the project?
Yeah, so what you said is quite perceptive. I don't think anybody really understood it properly. And we did a lot of geological work, and we had a well-known geologist, Warren Pratt, come down and relog all the core, and he explained it as a banded ironstone formation model with orogenic gold, which means you have feeders coming into a sponge, which is essentially the banded ironstone formation, and that's what sucks up the mineralization. So in that area, you've got quite thick saprolite cover, so there's not much outcrop,
right?
And I think that's what inhibited previous explorers, because there's been a lot of work done on the property. There's probably $40 million spent on the property. Yeah. But we were the first people to do a IP survey, and what we found was the banded ironstone formation really lights up with the IP survey.
Okay.
And the area with the resource lit up, and then a number of other areas lit up that were under saprolite. And in the last few months, what we've done is we've gone and trenched a number of those, and we found the banded ironstone formation that looks just like.
And this is like, I guess it's in saprolite still, like, but you can pick it up, like.
Yeah,
you know what you're looking for. So even in the saprolite, you can see the remnants.
You can see it, but you have to have a good eye, Right. And in that regolith environment, you do get movement, like some surface displacement as well.
Yeah.
But the IP really changed things. So we've gone and ground truthed that. We've gone and trenched through these IP anomalies. We found gold mineralization. We've got 1,600 samples going through the lab right now.
Okay.
And there are a whole bunch of news coming. So what we've done is we bought our C rig. So the plan going forward is these areas we've trenched and identified. We'll drill tightly spaced lines over them to make sure we do have the gold mineralized. So
it's effectively like auger. It's like the auger sampling you'd see in West Africa, kind of.
Except it's a track mounted RC rig, so it can go pretty fast.
Right.
And we'll operate that 24/7. And then we'll come along with the diamond drill in August or September, and test those targets. But we'll have the RC ahead of us, so we shouldn't really be missing with the diamond drill, I don't think.
Okay, so based on how much IP have you done? Just roughly.
I think it's about 24 line kilometers.
Okay.
To be honest with you, so what happened was we did the IP, we got the data, we didn't really understand it. We gave it to a well-known geophysicist, Peter Diorio, who reinterpreted it, and that was when it all kind of came together. And so now we might go back and do more IP because it's so effective.
Okay, so just you got the original resource area. So away from that area, what do you think you're looking at in terms of like target scale with this new information?
Oh, I mean, we're there because we think there's 5 million ounces plus, like that.
Right.
But otherwise, that's what we're looking for. So in these banded ironstone formation systems, Homestake is the most well-known one, which is 40 million ounces. Yeah. Gator in Tanzania, Back River with Sabina, it's those kind of systems. So and
the BIF, as we call it in the business, That's the quartzite? Like it's just a quartzite, but it's got higher iron content, or is it sitting on the quartzite, or like?
Well, this is like 1.9 billion years ago on the
Right.
bottom of the seafloor. There was this kind of iron-rich ooze with
Right.
silica. So what we actually see is it grades from being more silica-rich to more iron-rich,
Right.
but there's between 10 and 40% iron in it.
Okay.
But it doesn't really matter that much because when you get the sulfur-bearing fluids coming through it, all that magnetite turns to pyrite and pyrrhotite,
Right.
and that's what sucks up the gold.
And the based on what you see right now, I mean, obviously you got 1,600 samples coming in. It's worth noting that I think all your assays go to a gold assay lab in Georgetown, so you're not in assay lab hell like everybody else.
No, we've got a 5-day turnaround, but we don't have to tell anybody that.
yeah. Don't name the lab. Don't get the address. So, right now, what would you say your top 2 or 3 areas are in terms of targets, sort of outside the immediate resource area?
So I think so. We have the resource at Mazoa Hill, and it was always thought to be faulted off to the north.
Right.
And we did the IP survey, and Mazoa Hill glows, and then just to the east, 200 meters to the east, there's another glowing area which we went and trenched, and it turns out it looks just the same as Mazoa Hill. So that's probably the top drill target. There's another one called Success Creek that was an IP anomaly that we then went and trenched, banded ironstone formation, mineralized. We're just getting samples back from that now. And there's an area way over to the east. These things tend to be thicker in anticline hinges, and there was another anticline hinge.
Well, I wondered about that because when you just said they thought it was cut off to the north. So was it not previously recognized they were dealing with folds?
Yeah, it was previously recognized they were dealing with folds, but they thought it was faulted off.
Okay.
And I mean, they didn't know where it went, I guess is a better way of saying it.
Right.
But we picked it up with the IP. But Peace Creek is another anticlinal fold that had I think 15 really short drill holes drilled in 1946 and another 3 in 1974.
Right.
And they had 90 centimeters of 104 grams. And that wasn't really understood. Now with the IP, we've kind of mapped that a lot better.
And those holes were those holes in the right place, or were
No.
they just weren't really cutting the quartzite?
Yeah, they were. It wasn't really on previous operators. It's odd because no geophysics was ever done on the property, largely because it was the technology wasn't there at the time.
Right.
And the last thing that was done before we arrived was a Helimax survey.
Okay.
And then we reinterpreted that magnetics, and that's also helped. But it's one of those cases where the last thing you do is the cheap geophysics survey because you're out of money.
Yeah.
And that's the magic, this kind of silver bullet.
Right. It's this is a great story. I think you want to be paying attention. I highly recommend going to the Golden Shield website because I assume the new deck is up there now.
Yeah.
The one that you used yesterday in the talk. Just to try to get across the scale of target here and how much the target scale has changed. Like there's a lot of target here, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I thought the target, I don't know if it's going to be one of the better targets. I thought the target to the south was pretty cool because it looks like when you did the IP, the unit seems to have bifurcated, and the one everybody focused on in the past is not actually the one that lights up.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Because what I was saying was the more quartz rich is the less iron rich, and that's the less mineralized. But that's the one that sticks out of the ground. So what we're seeing is, it's in what you're talking about. You really want to be just to the west, and that's what lights up in the IP, and that's what's never been drilled. So that's another target potential.
So yeah, I mean, pay attention. There's going to be a lot of surface results coming, and the import of the surface results, to my mind at least. I mean, hopefully we see some nice results, but it's not even about that so much as these results should give us a lot more information, probably a lot more specific target ranking. I think we'll probably get even better information, obviously, from the Air Corps. So over the next 2 or 3 months, we'll see all these results, all this Air Corps. Then Leo starts drilling again. I knew about this project before Leo picked it up, and it was always one of those projects like, yeah, great drill holes, but where's this stuff go? But now, I mean, it just seems like these guys have a handle on this thing, and there's a lot of target scale. I think you really want to be paying attention to this one. I think this one could really be a winner. Symbol is GRSI. Golden Shield Resources, GSRI, sorry, Golden Shield Resources. Get this one on your radar and start paying attention, because I think they're going to deliver some pretty good news for the rest of the year. Thanks for coming by, Leo.
Yeah, good to talk to you. Right?